So anytime somebody asks me, what's your favorite book? I feel like a deer in headlights. I panic, I freeze, I don't know. Are you talking about fiction? Are you talking about nonfiction, classic, science fiction, fantasy, romance? Are you talking about books I read 20 years ago? Are you talking about books I read a month ago, what I'm currently reading? What are you talking about? See what I mean? Hi BookTube, it's Kim at K Becker's Books, and I thought I'd bring you a tag. This is the Meet the Booktuber tag from What Victoria Read. And question number 1 is give your name, age, and location. My name is Kim, and I live in New Hampshire, in New England, in the US. I am 53 years old, and gonna soon be 54 in July. Yeah. Number 2, do you have any siblings, and where do you come in the birth order? I am the oldest of 5. I have 2 remaining siblings. Unfortunately, 2 of my brothers passed away. One a long time ago, one about almost 7 years ago, or a little longer than 7 years ago. So there were 5 of us within 4.5 years. Me, my brother Kenny, a year and a half. He was a year and a half younger than me. My brother Michael, who was 3.5 years younger than me. He was born in January of 1970, and my brother and sister Karen and Jim were born in December of 1970 as twins. My mother was nuts. So I was changing diapers at 4 years old. True story. Number 3, what do you do for work or uni, meaning university? Clearly I'm not in university anymore, but I was not so long ago, and I'll talk about that in a second. But for work, I work in an office for a high-tech machining company, engineering company, and my job is called manufacturing planner, and I work with an engineering group, and we make production quantity of parts that go into engines and commercial applications. And my job is to keep parts moving, do vendor management, vendor relationship management. I do exporting to different countries around the world. I create jobs in order to begin to manufacture parts. I order raw material, blah, 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 blah. I work at a desk in front of a computer, but I do get to walk out on the machine shop all day, so I'm not sitting constantly, which is a good thing. And I do have plenty of time for reading at work. I read at lunch, I take a couple breaks, and that's what I do. Let's see, number 4, do you have kids? I do. I have 2 daughters. One is 28, and she's married and lives about 15 minutes from me. And I have a youngest daughter is 12. I know, 16-year difference. Interestingly enough, on the day I had my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter was 16. Funny story, on the day I had my youngest daughter, my oldest 16-year-old daughter came to the hospital to visit me, and she was walking in the hospital room with her head down, having just received Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows that day, and literally did not want to even look at her baby sister. It was like, Mom, I'm reading, leave me alone. So that was that. Do you have any pets? We do. That was question number 5. We have 3 pets. We have a rescue dog named Bandit. He is 12 years old, and we adopted him when he was 4, so we've had him for 8 years. He was relinquished at a pound in West Virginia when he was 4 years old, I believe, based on the paperwork from his original owner. And he was an amputee. He had his right front leg amputated about a month before we got him. He had a birth defect and ended up being fostered when he was relinquished at the pound. And unfortunately, he was in a dog fight with the foster's dog, and they had to surgically remove his right front leg. He's slow now because he's 12 and he's getting older and a little chubbier. But when we first brought him home, if you watched him chasing tennis balls in the backyard from behind, you couldn't tell he only had 3 legs. And then we rescued 2 cats last year, Bridget, who is the little petite black cat, and Chowder, who is the not so petite white cat. And they are 10 and 11 years old respectively. We adopted them from a rescue group in Maine, and they were a Christmas present for my youngest daughter, but mostly for the family. And we love them all. I'm covered in white pet hair constantly, but it is what it is. Number 6, can you drive? Yes. In my part of the U.S., New Hampshire, it's very rural, suburban. I don't live near a big city. The biggest city is about an hour away. It's either Manchester or Concord, New Hampshire. It's necessary to drive. And I got my license when I was 16. And the minute I did, I was gone. All I knew was I had independence, and I've driven myself everywhere since then. And I'm a pretty good driver. I think everybody says that, though. Number 7, what was your favorite subject in school? That depends. It depends on if you're talking about high school, college, or grad school. In high school, the easy answer is anything based on English or literature, and that's true. I loved every literature class. I loved writing papers, reading books. I loved it all. And I was actually very good in math in high school. I still am pretty good in math. I loved algebra. I did. I really did. Even though I've never used... No, that's not true. The cliche is you'll never use algebra again in your life, but I have used it in different work applications. So, and I have used geometry to figure out areas and square footage and stuff like that. So I was very good at that, and I enjoyed that. When I got to college, I was an English major to start, and I loved comparative literature. I took an American literature class, a British English literature class, loved it all. And I did not get a bachelor's degree in an English discipline or literature discipline. I got a bachelor's degree in business. But then in 2009, I entered seminary for a Christian theology degree. I have 2 master's degrees. One of them is a Master of Arts in Apologetics, which is a theological discipline, and I have a Master of Divinity. So from 2009 until 2017, I was in seminary. And my favorite courses in that program were hermeneutics, which is a biblical interpretation class. I loved it because that taught me how to look at the biblical text and scripture and language and look at it for what it was and not interpret it for what it is not, which is unfortunately the trap that too many people get into. That was one of my favorite courses. And I also loved taking courses on different books of the Bible. I took a course on the book of Isaiah, which I loved. There were lots of courses that I absolutely loved. Some I didn't like so much and cried all the way through. So let's see, number 8, what is your favorite color? My favorite color is fire engine red, and my second favorite color, or groups of colors, is most shades of blue. I surround myself with a lot of blue. I'm wearing blue today, and I love pretty much any shade of blue, but fire engine red is my favorite color. Number 9, what is your favorite smell? Coffee, brewing coffee, cinnamon buns baking in the oven, and one of my favorite smells is Thanksgiving. Yes, it is a smell. In the US, we celebrate Thanksgiving at the end of November, and when you walk into the house of whoever is cooking, and quite often it's me, you're smelling turkey and pumpkin pie and nutmeg and sides and pies, and oh, it's glorious. So that's got to be one of my favorite smells, is Thanksgiving. And number 10, this is the tough one, as you saw in my intro. What is your favorite book or top 3? I literally panic when somebody asks me that because I have no idea how to give my one favorite book, and I never can. And I internally will ask all those questions. What are you talking about? What genre? What era? What type of book? How long ago did I read it? So I'm going to quickly show you 4 books that are some of my favorites. I will show you this one first. This one I read a few years ago, and it was for a book group. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, and this is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. He's since become one of my favorite authors because I've read several other of his books. I love his writing style. I love the setting. I love everything about what he writes. I hope to read Terms of Endearment sometime this year, but this is one of my all-time favorite books. And go figure, because it's a Western. I'm not a woman who thought I would enjoy a Western novel, but this is one of the quintessential Western novels and absolutely loved it. Another one of my favorites that is a backlist book is Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible. I read this years ago. Actually, this was the second book we read for my Critical Chicks book group, and it was 19 years ago is when I read it for the first time. Now, this is a brand new hardcover copy. I read a larger trade paperback copy and actually lent it out a few times, and it got ruined. It got water damaged and wrinkled and everything. And I told one of my best friends, this is my favorite book, one of my favorite books. And for my birthday last year, she gave me this brand new hardcover copy, and I thought that's such an awesome thing to do. Now, two of the more recent books that have become my favorites are N.K. Jemisin's The Fifth Season, and I read the Broken Earth trilogy last year. I love this book. Fantasy, science fiction, Hugo and Nebula awards-winning series. N.K. Jemisin is a wonderful author. I plan to read some of her other books hopefully this year, or at least one or two more to see how those go and get into some more of her series. And my last one I'm going to show you today, I read the beginning of last year, Milkman by Anna Burns. Absolutely love this book. This is, again, a polarizing book. The writing style is really different from anything else I've ever read. Many people really don't understand it or don't like it. I loved it. I also heard, because of the way it's written and the language, it's great on audio. So if you have any interest in reading this, check it out on audio if you enjoy that. And weird fun fact is I just have never been able to get into audiobooks. I don't like listening to books. I absolutely 100% believe audiobooks are as valid, as worthy as print books, and they offer so much more accessibility to people who can't read in print or who have a difficult time reading a paper book or even an e-reader. Audiobooks are an excellent way to go, and another option for anybody who simply enjoys them or finds that they're the best way for them to access literature. So I think that's it. That's the last question. This was kind of fun, and I just thought I would take advantage of the tag that a lot of people have done and give you some of my answers and some of my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe and comment below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.